Right, it is now Thursday. We are back, and hopefully you were able to be in the Zoom classroom. And today, what we did in class was we talked about what is climate change and how does it affect things. And so, what I want to do is lead you through the highlights of our class discussion. So, first off, where does climate change come from? Is it occurring? So, let's start with that. The climate of the Earth has changed a lot over its history of 4.5 billion years. When the Earth first formed, there was no water. It was just like a big lava field over the entire planet being bombarded by meteorites. And then the Earth began to cool, and we had a period of volcanoes coming, and eventually we got to something where the Earth was a combination of land and water. Well, at one point, the Earth cooled off so much that about 95% of all life on Earth died. All the oceans, even in the tropical areas, were covered with ice. All the land was covered with ice. Earth was completely frozen from the North Pole to the South Pole. And it remained like that for millions and millions of years. We're not quite sure why it happened, but then the Earth began to warm. And we got to a period of time where even in what we now consider the Arctic regions, the Earth was very, very warm throughout the year. And we know from the fossil records and the sea records that the entire Earth was warmed. We know we've gone through these different periods. We had an ice age about 15,000 years ago. We even had a little ice age about 250, 300 years ago. So our climate continues to change. And if it does, why is everybody so upset about it? Well, one of the reasons is that climate change in the past, although some events have been extreme, it's been naturally caused. What we have now is man-induced changes. So by burning fossil fuels, we're introducing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. As the labs have shown you, as we introduce more greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide is one of those, we tend to trap heat in our atmosphere. And so that makes our Earth warmer. So what are the greenhouse gases? Well, carbon dioxide is one of them. Hopefully from the articles you've read, you maybe noticed methane. Methane gas, one carbon, four hydrogens, is another one. Where does methane come from? Well, it's natural gas. We burn it. You may burn it in your stove. It's similar to propane. It comes from cows. It comes from deterioration of organic things. So rotting things produces methane gas. Another one is water vapor. So when we have extra water vapor, there are several other greenhouse gases, but when all those gases get added to our atmosphere, it begins to change the way that heat is held close to the Earth. So what does that mean? Well, we are very dependent on Earth being in a very, very narrow temperature range. Remember, water, which we depend on, freezes at 0 degrees, boils at 100 degrees Celsius, and we enjoy a very narrow range of maybe about 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. That's our optimal temperature for humans here on Earth. And when we think about agriculture, production of food, that has to grow within a certain temperature range. So if it gets too hot or too cold, it will affect the world food supply. If you looked at the agricultural tractor, one thing that you saw was that human food habits can also change the way that global temperatures change. So if we are eating lots of meat, Meat, of course, comes from animals, beef or sheep or hogs, and they consume lots and lots of plant material. And by consuming that plant material, it contributes to climate change. So one way that we can personally affect how much climate change is occurring is perhaps change our diet a little bit. Eat a little bit less meat, which the doctors say is actually good for us, to eat a little bit more vegetable material, a little less meat. Perhaps some of you are already vegetarians. So we are in the process. Can we change it? Can we reverse it? Probably not. But what we can do is slow it down and hopefully let the earth begin to repair itself. Our planet is very resilient, and so we have to help the earth to be able to slow down and perhaps stop the climate change path that we are on. So one of the things that I want you to start thinking about as an assignment is our climate change paper. And our climate change paper is out there as your big assignment. So I'm going to go over to here and show you that, if I can here, that assignment. What I want you to do is to pick a geographic region of the world, and I want you to pick a region that has some significance to you. So that may be where you've lived or where a parent or grandparent has lived. And what I want you to do is describe that area. Where is it? The second thing that I want you to do is choose 2 indicators of climate change. Could be sea level, could be temperature, could be precipitation, could be wildfires, could be any of the things you've read about. Choose 2 of those. I want you to describe the background information of those indicators relative to climate change, to show me your understanding, that you understand what effect fire and climate change have as a relationship. Next, I want you to describe the region of the world that you're working on. Is it in South America or Asia or the Middle East? Then I want you to tell me about the historic status of the 2 indicators in that part of the world, like 100 years ago, 500 years ago. So if your choice is, let's say, southern Mexico, go back and look. Maybe talk to a member of your family who lived there and knew what was going on 100 to 500 years ago in precipitation or temperatures or agriculture. Then tell me the current status of those things, okay, those indicators. And then I want you to predict where those indicators will take you or take that region in the next 100 to 200 years. Find concrete details to support your statement. Submit it in as a Google Doc on Canvas. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's due the end of the month. Write it like you're telling a story, and it needs to be 500 words, okay? 500 words. All right. So where you're headed next for tomorrow is onto kinetic molecular theory, okay? So you're going to do a little bit of research. This one is a lot smaller. There's a little bit different Bitmoji looking classroom for you. I want you to research the things that are on this page and be ready in the morning to talk a little bit about this thing called kinetic molecular theory. That's all the hint I'm going to give you, and enjoy the exploration.